I love Monty Python, that troupe of goofy British comedians who perform outrageous skits, highly satirical and often irreverent. Their endeavor was to transform the ordinary into the original, to emerge with something completely different. I wanted to do something completely different this morning, as I fear the sermons preached to an empty sanctuary may be getting tiresome. At least they are for me. I haven't had much feedback regarding the Sunday videos. However, over the past few weeks, some of you have offered me some suggestions. Perhaps the use of a waterfall as a backdrop, or the labyrinth as a setting, or a field of sunflowers. I had an idea. I found a lovely 8-part poem written by Mary Oliver based on Psalm 145. I took it to the labyrinth, but there was too much truck noise, too many thundering motorcycles, too many shrieking sirens. Since Mary's poem referenced waves and birds and sunshine, I decided to read it from the shore of Lake Hartwell. I packed up my kayak and paddled and paddled and paddled until I finally found the perfect tranquil beach for my set. Once on shore, I experimented with my camera, and it seemed that the only way to properly video the lake while reading the poem was to hold my phone camera with one hand while using the other to hold the 4-page poem. Pontoon boats passed by, creating impressive waves, just like the ocean waves in the poem. Then a low-flying airplane zoomed above me, creating a tumult. I stopped, deleted the noisy first take, and then started again. I could smell the musky, wild smell of some animal and imagined a skunk or fox sneaking up behind me, but I continued the reading. 2 jet skis attempted figure eights in the waves, and a mussel boat pulling a tube with screaming children caused a ruckus. And again, I had to stop the video, delete it, and begin another time. Finally, there was enough of a break in the lake, and I was able to record the entire poem and prayer without noisy interruption. My hand was tired from holding the phone for so many outtakes, but I had finished it, and just in the nick of time, as I could see storm clouds beginning to move across the sky. Back home, feeling pleased that I could present you all with the sights and sounds of the lake, with the poignant words of Mary Oliver in the background, I began to watch what I had recorded. Now, I have never studied photography, but I know the rule of thirds, where the image is divided evenly into thirds with 2 important lines, one horizontal and one vertical. My video began with a splendid horizontal line, the view of the lake, the horizon in the distance, with the waves gently beating the shoreline. Then, only seconds into the recording, the horizon began to list as my camera hand, apparently unsteady, began to lull. As I watched my video, the terrain on the other side of the lake began to seriously slope into the water. And the waves were a bit more forceful than I had recognized at the time, And they began to make so much noise that Mary's words were nearly drowned out. As I watched my recorded version of worship, my heart, like the videotaped shoreline, began to sink. It was awful. And then, at the completion of the poem, I offered my own prayer based on Psalm 145. And as I prayed, at the bottom left corner of the screen, something began to emerge. Something completely different. What was that? Something creeping in from the edge of the beach or coming out of the water. At first, I couldn't quite tell, but as it got bigger and bigger, I began to giggle and then burst into laughter. What else could I do but laugh? It was my finger. And by the end of the prayer, it had taken up the entire landscape. And not only that, but as it turns out, I'm not very good at reading Mary Oliver's poetry. Psalm 145 has no real development of plot or building of intensity. It is actually rather static in form, and it is basically a statement of Israel's exuberant and grateful confidence in God the Creator. This psalm, in essence, articulates what is enduringly true of the world. Biblical scholar Walter Brueggemann says of the psalm, we take Psalm 145 to be the fullest representation of those psalms that understand creation as a mode of equilibrium, coherence, and reliability. Such a presentation of life is an act of high faith. And what I think is that in high faith, I can try to show you the splendor and grandeur of God as creator, but it can't really be captured, especially by someone like me who has absolutely no experience as a videographer. I can try to read you Mary's beautiful poem, but I am no rhapsodist. I can try to offer you examples of life's regularities, those things that are experienced as reliable, equitable, and generous. But what I know is that our times are ordered by God according to the seasons of the year, the seasons of life, according to the needs of the day. I know that what I know does not come out of some great religious insight, but rather because this is the way life has come to me. On that lakeshore this past week, as I finished the fledgling attempt at seizing the beauty of God's creation on video, seconds after hitting the stop button on that video, a great blue heron, who must have been on the water's edge just a few yards away, glided by me, and then a second one right behind her. The ordinary was transformed into the original. On the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works I will meditate. The might of your awesome deeds shall be proclaimed, and I will declare your greatness. Amen.